Today I'm going to be making homemade Ronto wraps. If you've ever been to Galaxysedge at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World, you've probably had this before. We get them as a quick service meal every single time we go. It's essentially a pita flatbread with a smoked sausage, some pork shoulder, some Asian spiced slaw, and a Sichuan peppercorn sauce that is just so good. Especially when it's homemade and you can put the proportions that you want in there. It's really fantastic. It's in the official Disney Parks cookbook as well as Delicious Disney Walt Disney World. Oddly enough, if you buy the Galaxysedge cookbook, that recipe is not correct as to what they serve in the parks. I don't know if that was because that book was written before the parks opened and before they had finalized the recipe, but the two books I mentioned before will have the correct recipe. And let's go ahead and just hop into the kitchen because I'm ready to eat this. This first step for making the Ronto wraps is very simple, but also takes the longest, which is why we start with it. This is a pork shoulder or a pork butt, whichever you can get your hands on. And now we're just going to generously season it with loads of salt and pepper. And this is all going to get spread around and then canola oil on top of that. And you just want to sort of rub this to make a generous crust, seasoning crust on all sides of this. All right, I've got the pork seasoned up here and nicely coated in oil. And so now we're just going to move it to a roasting pan and put this in the oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. While the Boston butt is cooking, we're going to go ahead and make our peppercorn sauce that's going to go on our Ronto wraps. So I've got a cup of mayonnaise here, and to that we're going to add half a tablespoon of salt. These are Szechuan peppercorns. They're really good. They definitely impart a different flavor. So I've got about 1/8 of a teaspoon of crushed Szechuan peppercorns, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground coriander, and the dark spice here is sumac, which you may not be familiar with. So there's about a teaspoon of that. It's used in a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine dishes as well as some South Asian. If you're unfamiliar with sumac, it's a really underrated spice, so check it out. But put all of that in. Now we've got some apple cider vinegar, and we're going to put in a tablespoon of that. And lastly, some lime juice. Now we're just mixing all of that up, and that will be the final peppercorn sauce that we use on our Ronto wraps. So cover this and refrigerate it once you're done, and then we'll move on to the next thing. To make the slaw, we're going to start with 3 cups of shredded cabbage, and we're going to add a cup of shredded matchstick carrots, as well as a tablespoon of dried parsley, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar, now a teaspoon each of salt and pepper, 2 tablespoons of canola oil. And the last ingredient is called sambal. You can get it from Asian grocery stores, or I think you can get it online too, but we're going to put 2.5 tablespoons of that in there as well. That should be about 2.5. And now we're just going to mix all of these ingredients together until everything gets nice and coated and incorporated. Here is the slaw mixture all mixed together, nice and beautiful, a lot of color on that. Now we're just going to cover it and refrigerate it again until we're ready to assemble our Ronto wraps. We're about ready to finish assembling the Ronto wraps. So you want to get a griddle nice and hot, and then we've got our pita bread here, and we're going to go ahead and put that on there so that we get the nice griddle marks on the actual pita bread. We got some nice grill marks on our pita bread. So now we're going to take a slice of our roasted pork shoulder, and we're gonna do the same thing and put some grill marks on that. We got some beautiful grill marks on our pork butt. So now we're gonna go ahead and cook our smoked sausage as well. We are ready to assemble our Ronto wraps. So we've got the toasted pita as well as the pork butt already down. So we're gonna add a smoked sausage to this. And now we're just going to pile on some of that slaw we made earlier. And now swizzle on some of that peppercorn sauce and wrap it up. And there we go. Now you've got your very own homemade Ronto wrap, just like you were to get at the parks. Have it with a Batuuan sunset, so you really feel like you're there, and enjoy. I periodically make Disney parks videos. I love going to the parks personally, so if you have any requests, feel free to leave them in the comments or shoot me a message and let me know what you'd like to see made. I've got some more ideas coming on the pipeline. In the meantime, you can check out my grapefruit cake video from the Hollywood Brown Derby, or the breakfast lasagna from the Crystal Palace. Those are all great videos. If you enjoy my content in general, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.